Built on Green Tree, crazy night. Friday, Hard Rock Stadium, crazy game, crazy ending. Probably not the best performance. That's beyond obvious, but Miami still pulls it out, 5-0. Perfect on the season, 1-0 in the league. Head into Cal Berkeley for, I guess that's an ACC game because that's what they tell us. Game day will be there, and and it's still kind of weird to see Clemson and Stanford and think that's a league game, or Florida State and SMU and think that's a league game, amongst, I think it was USC and Wisconsin still kind of doing a double take. But that being said, Virginia Tech is not anybody new. Miami finds a way to win, and we will start here. Chad Wilson, how'd they rule that a catch?
I really don't absolutely know that. Everything about that catch would say, at the moment should not have been called that. I found it interesting that guys went to the ground. There was a pile up there, obviously, on a Hail Mary, and the referees come running in like it was a 1-yard plunge, where they pull bodies off and try to see if the guy's across the line of scrimmage. Not what you're supposed to do in this situation, but they ended up doing that. And despite the fact that a University of Miami football player runs out of the pile with the football to the sidelines, they decided to call it a touchdown, say it was a catch, and then go review it. My personal theory is it's Friday night in the city of Miami, liquor's flowing. You can't say that that's not a catch and then go review it and call it a catch while everyone's, juiced up and looking at you. You might not have gotten out of there without, some type of bodily injury. So it went how it went. It ended up the way I felt it should have gone. Had Rod and I sitting there waiting, watching, looking at the thing. You're like, there's no way. Then you see Virginia Tech celebrate, then we celebrate, then Virginia Tech celebrates, and we celebrate. I left there wanting to call back after I left and said, hey, did we still win? After we left. But, it worked the way it was supposed to work. All's well that ends well. They got it right.
I was surprised. So I'm on the field, and I'm literally, positioned by the end zone. I'm filming it. I'm watching it. I'm commentating on it. I noted that 43 was Horton because I needed Josie to understand when he sees 43, that's not some walk-on from the Catskills in New York, in the game to knock that pass away.
Thanks for clearing that up for us, too.
Yes. Yeah. And but the last thing I expected after all of Chad described was to see the refs go like this. Like, I did not. That was the last thing, with Horton running free, the sideline going bonkers, and that they would come together and go, he caught it. That's a touchdown. The last thing I expected.
I do remember saying to myself, man, who's 43? Because he's kind of fast running off with that football. Where has he been the whole game? But glad
that's part of the job. Rod, did you have any issue? So, I'm sure you've watched it back 100 times or 1,000 times or 20 times. So, from what you saw to how it was ruled to how it was, officiated from the command center. What is your sort of final dissertation on that?
I don't know how they would ever rule it a catch in the beginning after seeing the replay. Now, during the game live where I was sitting at, I could not see it because we were in the box, so we couldn't see the actual play because it was right underneath us. So all I saw was the guy from the University of Miami run out with the ball, and I don't understand how they could call that a touchdown. And for me, again, I didn't know what to believe because I was there doing Georgia Tech. At this point, I don't know anymore. So I felt like, I don't know how to feel at that time. I was just having flashbacks of Georgia Tech, honestly.
What about you? Where were you? You had been home, right? You're up in Jayville watching, yes?
Yeah, I was at home. My mother-in-law and her fiance were sitting there with me. We couldn't believe it. Like, we were like, how in the world did they call that a touchdown? Like, obviously replay, slow-mo, everything else helps in that review process, but just sitting there for 7 minutes for them to figure it out. It's like, what is there to figure out? The kid never had full possession of the ball. Ball was moving all the way down to the ground. The rule that the ACC put out is that Isaiah Horton was laying out of bounds and touched the ball while it was loose, therefore is an incomplete pass. Even then, he still came up with the ball. Like, just doesn't make any sense for me to call it a touchdown. I agree. Why not just call it an incomplete pass, review it, confirm it, and get the hell out of Dodge? I mean,
it does make you wonder if we didn't have replay what they would have truly ruled in that moment. If that wasn't even a possibility, would they
Right.
have ruled that a catch? And
Well, we were talking before, like about what theories on give it to Miami, right? The obligatory Miami's really good this season, that kind of stuff. I don't believe in any of that crap, but I do believe replay shapes some of the calls, right? Because the officials know in the back of their head there's a make good coming. Like we don't have to get it 100% right.
Yeah.
It can get that I do believe in, but I don't believe in all the conspiracy theories. Even if I'm a pro Miami guy, I don't believe in that stuff.
Everyone wants to talk about the relation.
Huh?
Yeah, they want to talk about the referee because he was the referee of the Duke game when we had the laterals, and how Mark Walton was down. I'm like, I was there.
Who comes up with that information? They dig really hard.
Well, because if that was the case, going back to Rod's, in the infamous, game from last year, Donald Chaney's elbows on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't get that call, and there's the Clay Klubnik's knee is in the end zone. Jordan, you know what I mean? Like there's plenty of things that have not gone Miami's way to be like this is some sort of pro-Miami
national championship game.
Rod just closed the argument. Rod just dropped the mic and walked out. We're done.
Cleveland,
that's the worst one of all time.
There's so many different instances where the refs definitely did not help Miami out in any way, shape, or form. I mean, it's obscene to think that the ACC commissioner was in the review room going, nah,
I think
Miami's our best shot this year.
I'm pretty sure. I want to say with almost 90% certainty, because I think I saw him on the field pregame. That absolutely was not the case because he was in Hard Rock Stadium, and I'm pretty sure the command center is not in Hard Rock Stadium. So I'm gonna rule that one out too. Now I will say this. Relative to that moment. It is a gut-wrenching time if you're Mario Cristobal or even Brent Pry. Obviously, I'm standing within the Miami circles, but I have a picture on my phone of Mario Cristobal standing at like the 10-yard line between the hash, looking up at the Jumbotron as he's trying to watch a replay. And I'm just thinking in my head, he's sitting there his fate is riding on whatever this decision's going to be. Obviously, there's also some heated words, not from Coach Cristobal, but emotions are running hot in that moment. The refs are sitting there almost like this, looking into some little box, and it's on the Miami sideline. So that becomes a little disruptive.
Why is he looking if it's going to a command center? Maybe you could help me out.
I don't know. But it's like there's one man with a little bit of information and about 200 other people sitting on that field with no information. And someone's going to win and someone's going to lose, and that's not a fun feeling. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about how close that referee was to the University of Miami bench team.
Dude, security came over. A couple police officers were called in. I mean, because it's taking so long, and myself included, people are starting to circle. It's like a fight breaks out, right? Everyone wants to get closer, and the police want to push you back. Well, and to your point, Chad, I would think legitimately, like his safety's a concern.
That's in question. No doubt.
You're sitting there for 7 minutes, and your back's to the world.
Yeah.
You don't have a lot of security or safety. Now, Rick, is it? We play out this same set of cards last year, the year before, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 10 years ago. Are we staring at a different result?
Absolutely. You can go back further now. I think in the last 15 years, we don't win this football game. So that's what I took from it. Of everything I took from me watching the game and going back and analyzing the game is that we don't win this game for 15 years. KC may have 1 year that he may want to object to that, but outside of that, over the last 15 years,
Chad falls outside of that data range.
Yeah.
I think gladly, though.
Well, I want to see what Casey says after this, but we'll let Rod finish.
Yeah, but over the last 15 years, we don't win this game. So what I took from this more than anything is the culture and the resilience of the team and the way it's growing in the right direction, because over the past 15 years, it would have been a debacle. I mean, I could think about Middle Tennessee State and games where everything is not going our way from the way we play defense and offense, and we're not playing our best football yet, and still we found a way to win the game. So you have to do that. If you take a team that, I may be saying taboo, but if you take a team that wins a national championship, if you go back to the history of every team that won a national championship, they had that one game that they won that they probably shouldn't have won. Even, from the times Chad was there to us winning it with the Ed Reed Boston
it was
College
the same
play.
school in 2001. 2002 when we went into the championship. We had a back and forth game with Virginia Tech that we ended up pulling out.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then
Yeah.
BC in 2001. So,
Yep.
yeah,
Mhm.
right.
So it's always that game if you're going to win it. And if you go through every team that has won a national championship, they have that game that they probably shouldn't have won, but a champion finds a way to win. And so us just starting to establish that championship DNA, because you have to learn how to win. And I think the team took a step in the right direction on Friday night, showing that.
Mhm.
All right, Casey, you're in that 15-year window. What say you?
I think, obviously 17 was a different year. I texted it to you guys. I think our North Carolina game was oddly similar to this one. Just a knockout, drag out, had to come from behind, had one player have a hell of a game to help us secure the victory at the end of the game. But I 100% agree with what Rod's saying. There's many, many teams in the past 15 years that would have not won this game, whether it come down to a review or not. This is definitely progress for the team. We can go back to Georgia Tech last year. Knee or no knee, regardless, we blew that game. The defense at the end of the game, allowed a Hail Mary into the end zone.
That's the other part of the story of that game that doesn't get talked about as much.
Yeah,
right.
Forgotten part.
Yep. So definitely a big step, a big improvement, mentality wise. Cam Ward does it again. It just shows us why he's the leader in the Heisman race.
I was trying to bury that name in the lead here a little bit, but do we just want to jump to it and I'll circle back to some of the other stuff?
Hey, you run this.
I run this. All right, so let's get into Cam Ward.
I would say this: first, I would lead with a little bit of criticism. We don't want to just put him on this major pedestal. He was a little careless with the ball, almost seemed bored. Things have seemed rather easy through the first 4 games of the season, and he came out looked a little bored, was a little careless with the football. But Josh, you and I forget which game it was. It might have been the Florida game. We talked about, whether or not Dawson would be okay with some of the things that would be off the beaten path with Cam Ward. And I said, yeah, you have to allow those things to get the great things. You can't bottle them up. And so I really feel like in the first half of that game, and maybe, a time here or there in the second half, we did get some of those things like, why did you do that there? Why would you try that there? Why would you try and fit that ball in there? And then we got the other stuff that led to us having a lead in this thing coming down to a Hail Mary. If we had a different quarterback and found ourselves in that situation, we, sad to say, we'd be following the script that Rod has said has been a part of our history over the last 10, 15 years. We don't really end up winning that game. So you got to take the good with the bad. I think Cam himself, being an experienced player, an experienced quarterback, will take account of what happened in this game here and reel himself in. That's what you want from your quarterback. And I'm sure we've got a good enough staff to help him get there just in case he doesn't get all the way there. Here, you might want to be a little more careful with the football. And we got some real games coming up. Cal's not up there, but going all the way out west, being off your schedule, it's going to be a real football game. And so we got Louisville coming up. They'll probably be pissed off by the time we head out there. We're leaving the state of Florida for the first time. So we're going to have some real football games here. So you didn't have to be bored anymore. It's going to start getting real.
Rod, what about you? From the Cam Ward perspective, which lens do you look at it through? Sort of the careless board, or it's probably a combination of both. But yet, without him, they don't score on the final 3 drives and win the game. And amazingly so, because I don't always see the game, and I don't see all of it, in real time when I'm down there. I got to watch it back. Even still, I'm like, damn, he still did 400 yards and freaking 5 touchdowns.
Yeah,
it's absurd.
Yeah, it is. It is. But he's a great one, man, and the great ones figure it out, and so he had to figure it out. Obviously, he came out early in the game with the fumble and then the untimely interceptions that kind of kept, that gave Virginia Tech some life. But he helped figure it out. I think when we had some struggles in the run game a little bit, him taking off running was big, and him just, you're gonna have to take that with Cam. It's just what it is. I would not rein him in at all if I had the decision, because it's all part of it. Some of those things he does, like even the chest pass. That's not something you would advise him to do in that situation. But it's his greatness. So I wouldn't. You have to take the good with the bad with him. You're gonna wear it out, in the end of it, I think he's going to have 5 touchdowns and 400 yards. Yeah, he had a few turnovers, but he made the game interesting. But I definitely wouldn't. I wouldn't put a leash on him at all.
KC, did you play with a guy anywhere close to him relative to the makeup? And the only reason why I ask is relative to kind of inside of what we've talked about so far is that if Cam is Cam, that comes with it. Obviously, nobody wants it, but you can't have this if you don't also sometimes get that. But if you trust him and you believe in him, and that's who he is to do that, it's like, I don't want to say it's like, Mahomes texted about it, but like if Mahomes does something like that, you don't question it. It's like, that's Pat Mahomes. So if we might be seeing our version of that relative to that's who he is. That's how he plays. Sometimes you get a little gut wrencher, but you also don't get all the good shit that comes with it.
No, that's true. I mean, I don't think I play with someone obviously as good as Cam. I mean, the guy's he just makes plays happen. I think something that Rod brought up is like figuring out how to win a game, even when you're not playing your best. I mean, he figured out in the third and fourth quarter they're just letting me run the ball. I'm just going to go ahead and take off. Like, they got good coverage on my wide receivers. O-line's holding up a decent amount, and let me just get out of the pocket or go straight through the crease and get up the field. I mean, I loved playing with Malik. I thought Malik was a gamer. Everyone talks about that mentality of like just getting the job done during the game. Obviously a little careless with the ball at times, but I mean, no one quite as good as Cam. Being able to have the game that he had, still have the stats that he had, and to bring us back with a comeback win is just huge and something that we've been missing for a long time.
I do want to give credit to Virginia Tech, watching them defensively.
Thank you, Chad. You're thinking like a PD, because I was going to circle back to that. I was going to ask what you saw, and you can just go take it. Continue discussing.
They've always been tricky. They've always been a thorn in the side. They don't run like traditional defenses. Rod can probably attest to this during his time at Miami playing against Virginia Tech. It was never an easy game. It certainly wasn't in my time there. And so they do different things. So you got some 3-man rushes. You got a lot of twist up front. You got DBs coming off the edge more than we had in any other game. They were also able to bring pressure and give some funky looks in the back end. So Cam wanting to go to his first read and it not being there, but they're bringing 5 or maybe even 6 was a bit of a problem. So you had the sack and you had the little situation where he fumbled early. And then you even had the situation where he did the chest pass. So you got to give them credit for giving some different looks. This might be a function of them coming off of a loss and saying, hey, maybe we need to do some different things. I'm sure they probably, seeing where this game fell in the season, hid some things, maybe worked on it in practice, didn't show it in any games and broke it out here. So I will give Virginia Tech credit for both the, exotic pass rushes and probably exotic things they did in the back end. I saw a few of them, but I didn't have the pleasure of really seeing the whole picture of it. He just looked like he wasn't ready to throw to that first or second read when pressure was coming.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Rod, what'd you see?
Same thing. I agree with Chad. I think they Virginia Tech did an excellent job of giving us some looks that we had not seen, and they made him early on a little bit, if you can, uncomfortable. I mean, he wasn't rattled, but for the first 4 games, he was just so on time, and he saw it coming early. And some of the stuff he saw it, I think he maybe was just maybe a little bit off with the ball a couple of times on the interceptions. He knew it was coming, just his placement. But again, I think that's because of some of the pressures that was coming and things like that. But they do a great job from the time I was there. I'm sure everybody who ever played Virginia Tech anytime we've always played them. We've always
All
had the
three of
more
you guys.
talent. Yeah, we've always had the more talented team, but they were always a tough team to play, very disciplined, focused on special teams, always made it a very tough team to beat. And I appreciate playing them, though, because they showed us some things that we just add to our resume, some things for us to work on to continue to get better. I'm glad we were able to play them and win the game because they showed us some things that we'll definitely get better at and work on in our bye week.
Chad, did you? Oh, go ahead, Casey.
This, in my opinion, very easily could have been a top 15 matchup. Virginia Tech could have been 4-0 going into this game. I watched the Vandy game while I was at a bar in Gainesville before we whooped up on Florida. But like I always say this about Virginia Tech: underrated athletes and underrated toughness, because their record is not always a reflection of that team. That team is, I don't care who the head coach is, they are always going to be a tough team to play. And opening up conference play with them, I think will play in our favor as the season continues to go.
Chad, I was going to ask, did you get to see the replays of the 2 interceptions in a way that would give you any insight to what you saw and how they covered it or how they played it?
Not in the way that I would like to. I saw a television copy, so you catch the end part of it. I know he tried to fit a corner ball in there, and it got, popped up in the air and taken back the other way. And then I'm not sure what happened on the long interception that went back the other way. We'd be remiss if we did not point out the effort by Elijah Arroyo down there. That was a game changer. I'm not sure why Virginia Tech chose to not take the points there. I guess maybe you feel like I'm on the road. This is a function of having a quarterback like Cam Ward, though, because I think if we had uneven play at quarterback or we didn't have someone
kick the field goal and keep going up by 13, right?
Let's take the points. We go up 30-17 at that point. I think they would have been okay with that. Fear of the guy that we had, calling the signals over there makes you do something silly like the fake field goal. But that's all a function of Elijah Arroyo saying, I'm not going to let these guys score. Mm-hmm. Plus, let me show a little speed on film too. And getting the guy down to the ground and giving us a chance there.
I would say Rod brought this up, and I saw the guy that runs special teams now has been at forever. He started as a student. Actually, Casey will know him too. Danny Coulter started as he was in school working as a, I don't know if a student volunteer, student assist, whatever it is, and it's just worked his way up. And you think about the block by Malik Bryant, right? And you go back to the end of the first half, and it's a kind of, I would say it's a nothing 3 points because I think it was vital. But Chris Johnson returns the kick, gets it to I think minus 45, minus 46, a play or two, and Borregales knocks in a 56-yarder. That's +3. Take the 3 that come off the board on the block. That's 6 points, and that's the ball game. And they all matter. They all matter. And
once again, at the end of a first half, we do some things that really help us in the football game. We did that last week against South Florida, hitting that deep one down the sidelines to Sam Brown. And then, we had this happen in this game that kind of set us up for, at least to try and clean up in the second half some of what was going on in the first half. So at least we know how to finish halves. We know how to finish games, even though
right?
We needed a referee to come in and fix it at the end. But yeah, you got to finish halves. Everyone here knows that.
By the way, someone said this to me, and I didn't really study it, but Virginia Tech kicks the field goal at the end of the first half, and I think they called a timeout with 25 to 30 seconds left when they might have been able to run that thing down, kick the field goal, and go into the locker room. I did not study that. That was whispered in my ear as someone who did not call a timeout at Hard Rock Stadium, but I'll just put it out there.
I mean, there's a lot of unwise time management things that go on, not only on Saturday, but Friday in this case, but Sundays too. That's just mind-boggling. I guess in that moment with all that stuff going on, maybe you could screw that up. But me, from my vantage point on the couch, what the hell are you doing?
By the way, there should be
30 seconds.
Did you see? I think it was the Georgia-Alabama game. Miami has one too, but there's a guy sitting next to. I don't know which. I didn't see which box it was. There's literally just a guy with the 3-ring binder that literally just has one color-coded spreadsheet after the other, and his lone responsibility, I'm sure, is timeout, clock management, and go for 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Can you imagine that? That's a position on a staff.
And someone has done the research, and and teams are buying that information
Yep.
for one person to have, so that doesn't happen, and yet sometimes it still happens. Rod, you
Rod
got
will
that?
tell you, Roger
Rod
Harry
has
at
it.
the same
Right.
time.
Rod said he had iPads in the first. I'm sure. Who's your clock management guy, Rod?
I am, but I have somebody that makes sure I'm on point with it. Yeah, so I have a coach that makes sure. You have to at that point, man. Just to
That's the thing. Roger Harriet has one at St. Thomas. He was with
Yeah.
us
He
at
does?
University School. So
yes,
yeah, it's a thing.
absolutely.
Did we underestimate Virginia Tech? And by we being media fans, whatever, Miami's the better team. But did because of the record, did we not think it might be challenging?
Las
By we, I mean
Vegas
the
said
world.
we were 19-point favorites. So yeah, of course. They lost to Vanderbilt. This is a different Vanderbilt team, but historically, what are you doing losing to Vanderbilt? So that just set the tone, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Rod's nostrils are flaring. I don't know what's going on, Rod.
No, I just think that, I don't think we underestimate them. Just the scenario. Anytime we play these night games, it's a Friday night game. Anybody, understands University of Miami know that game was going to be tricky. And I just, from me watching it and seeing their quarterback and watching us the week before against USF, I knew that they would present a few problems just because they had a mobile quarterback in some areas. So, I can't say that the team or the kids underestimate. It's just one of those things that just falls that way sometimes.
All right, we're going to give everyone an opportunity. We're going to go Casey, Rod, Chad. We'll go kind of this way. That's how I'm seeing it. So obviously not Miami's best performance, right? Like they did not play their best game. They figured out a way to win. I think Chad alluded to this a week or two ago about, when the competition got better, when they, outside of Ball State and FAM and maybe even USF relative to Virginia Tech, that things would be different. So Casey, with you, what was something to you that you saw that just raised an eyebrow relative to, all right, that is something that I'm sure they'll be in the film room addressing during the week, getting ready for Cal.
Yeah, I mean, I thought I'm going to be, the offensive line expert here. I think that the offensive line.
By the way, you better be. All right, you better be. That's what you're here for. I
don't think that the offensive line played their best game. I think that we played good enough, obviously, to win. We were all talking about it during the game. We wish we were running the ball more. We wish the run game was a little bit more active. I did the play where we got Maui Noah out on the edge and out in the open field. I mean, those are the type of plays that I'm looking for in the near future. Like, let's get the ball on the edge. Let's get the big guys running. I think that Virginia Tech did exactly what we talked about last week. How do you beat Cam Ward? You got to bring stuff out that he's never seen before. You got to dig deep into your bag of tricks. You got to present different pictures to the offensive line. There's a lot of unique, complex blitzes that our line may not have seen before, and that's part of the game. You got to make the adjustments. I think we did make the adjustments at halftime, and we're more successful in the second half of protecting, running the ball, and being more productive as an offense. I think the D-line also had their fair share of moments where, we could have gotten more pressure on the quarterback. But at the end of the day, like we said, changing culture is happening. And what Arroyo did is a direct reflection of the culture changing.
Rod, what about you? What was something you saw that was just like, all right, let me just take note of that, put that in the back of my head and only answer when Josh asks?
Two things. I think I have a couple of things. First, if I had to say an area that I'm looking to see us correct a little bit more is tackling. I don't know why. I think we missed some tackles. I know we missed a few tackles that game, more than usual. So I'm interested to see how we come back this week and what happens this week in practice to correct some of those tackles that we missed. On a positive note, it was good to see Malik Bryant. I think he's played well. Just not that play, just him in the pass rush. And I think he's finding his groove and becoming a player for us, a real player, and just adding depth to those edge rushers. So that was good to see. But so those two things stood out to me. Just us maybe tackling a little bit better, and I think some of that has to do as well with the quarterback being mobile. He didn't take off running, but he just wasn't on his spot like we anticipated. He moved his spot, and we missed some sacks that we should have had. And I think I know that Virginia Tech looked at what USF did and kind of moved that pocket a little bit and had him get off his spot and created a few problems for us. But all in all, again, like Casey said, it's a culture change, and I'm just real excited to see what's next for us.
Your turn, C-Dub.
Yeah, I mean, the glaring thing for me was what Rod saw. I saw this live and then noticed it again, rewatching the game, was just the tackling. This is the second week of a mobile quarterback. And so similar to maybe last week, we didn't get the kind of team rush up front that you'd like to see. Perhaps there were a couple solo missions. And, just from a coaching standpoint, you got to be a little more careful about getting too deep in the rush off the edges and giving a guy to step up, get up underneath the tackle and then get out into free space, because now you've given the routes more time to develop, or you've allowed the whole scramble drill where anyone can get open. The whole play changes and now your guys are in coverage too long. So I would like to see us get a little better at that, moving forward, when you do have a mobile quarterback and you don't necessarily have a guy that's going to drop back, take a hitch or two, and then try to throw the football. We've just got to kind of adjust our rush to a guy that's mobile and maybe force him all the way out of the pocket and cut the field in half. Because once a guy steps under like that, he really does have vision of the whole field, and it puts the secondary and all the guys in coverage at a very big disadvantage. So 2 straight weeks of that, I guess that's something that will get cleaned up going down the road, and we do have a bye coming up here. And so if that's something we're going to face in, our championship game for the conference, and yes, I'm putting us there, or somewhere in the playoffs, at least we've had an opportunity. It's good to have experience with something when you start facing it down the road. So this was a good opportunity for us 2 weeks in a row to get that.
I'll throw out, and I'll put this in elementary terms, and Rod, and actually all three of you can chime in on this one just because you've seen it from both sides. I do think part of Virginia Tech's offense with that quarterback is they tried to mess with your discipline and your eyes. There was a lot of movement, a lot of motion, a lot of guys in motion, return motion. I mean, cracking back with some stuff, getting guys, kind of caught off guard. So I thought they kind of did a good job of putting their guys in space. I think the other thing too, actually, I'm going to go to 3 things. I don't want to say from the overestimating part, but, and when I say we, Rod, I don't mean like maybe us, but I just think the general public of like, it's Miami and Virginia Tech, they're favored by 18. Like this should be a no-brainer game, is that they have good players too. Maybe not as many, maybe not to the level, right? But that running back's good. The tight end's good. The receiver's good. Quarterback is not Cam Ward good, but he's good for college football and how they use him. Their defensive line was good. They knew that. And quite honestly, those guys got pressure. And I will say this. I think it was in the chat last night, right? Or if anyone wouldn't notice, right, what Jeremiah Smith has done at Ohio State and Ryan Williams is doing at Alabama. We have a very good receiving core, but we may not have an elite receiver like that. We have a great we have actually numbers of talent, right, with the tight end, the running back, and the receivers, but we may not have that guy. And Virginia Tech's DBs played us really well. I mean, they were tough, they were physical, and I think they made some of that stuff hard. So I think to Chad's point, we just saw what a better team might present. And I would say the last thing that's is more so coming out of the game would be that depth might be a bit of a concern. Injuries might hurt some positions on the team if they linger, because they added up a little bit in that game in conjunction with who was already out.
Yeah, that's why in the early part of the season, when you play the FAMs and the Ball States and, to a certain degree, the South Floridas, you do handle your business there and you're able to play younger guys, get them experience, get them out on the field, get them back past whatever jitters they might, suffer from when they first go in a game. You get that stuff out of the way. So it's good for us to have had those games. But now I'm all for the real deals now, and we can
come back Jalen Rivers, come back Ruben Bain.
Yeah, please.
Don't be too hurt, Elijah Alston. Right. Let's rock and roll and suit up and take care of business. By the way, just kind of back to the Cam Ward stuff. He made some ridiculous throws in that. Like that first touchdown throw to Jacoby George. That's an NF. That's an NF.
Nice
was a
laser.
There it
dart.
is.
Nice laser.
We got the noise. We got Rod's. I don't know what that is. That was a dart to
Yes.
Jacoby George at the back of the end zone. And honestly, the one on Arroyo on that go down the sideline, I mean, the ball placement was perfect. So I know it wasn't his best game, and he'd want some throws back. But like we said, 340 yards, 4 touchdowns. And oh, man, and I'm out of phase. I messed up the camera. 340 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a couple of NFL-like throws. I mean, he's just that good.
Can we show love to the very basic pop pass? His play
Yes.
action and his
on the touchdown?
That was
yeah, his
smooth.
whole demeanor on that just really sold the hell out of it. It's just part of who he is, but he sold the heck out of that. And just to see a play that we ran in Little League at Pasadena Lakes Optimus in 1985 just get off like that was really, really good to watch.
Yeah, that was an awesome play. The sell was perfect, but I do want to talk about a difference between Cam and other quarterbacks. That bobbled snap on that final drive, other quarterbacks would have freaked out and jumped on it. We would have lost yards. He just was so calm. And it's like, let me just pick this up and hand it on over here, and let me just get out of the way. Like, it was so beautiful to watch him just be so calm and just pick the ball up and hand it off, and let's gain 7 yards versus losing 5. That was, Zach, let's get the ball up, but that was pretty awesome to watch him do.
Yeah.
All in all, you get the dub, right? You come back. I think the most important thing is that you finished. And I will say this. I guess all 3 of us were there. Casey was watching. The crowd did their part. It was loud. It was very loud. At certain points, when most needed, that place was rocking, hard rocking.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. It's completely different when you have the fans on behind you. Definitely makes a big difference.
Yeah, and you don't even need to sell out a stadium in South Florida for that noise to be there. We're just loud like that. When I was playing, I played for Long Beach State, so obviously didn't sell out the Orange Bowl for the Long Beach State versus Miami game. But we had a player there get an interception. An actual interception was thrown in that game to us, and our guy was running, and he got hit by Horace Copeland. You would have sworn by the sound made in there that place it was at capacity 83,000 people, but I think it was like 40 or 30 something like that. We just make noise here in South Florida, and for a Friday night, you always worry about attendance on a Friday night. I mean, it's South Florida. There is a multitude of things that you could be doing in South Florida on a Friday night. So for us to get the attendance that we did, and to have the fans be as passionate and as loud as they were in the game. Now, we treated them to a close football game that required their participation. But I think it was really, really good to see that. There was a time when we played on Friday nights. This is before me, so I don't want to hear any jokes here. But my wife tells me, because she's born and raised in South Florida, that, they would give away tickets at Burger King and games would be on Friday night. So I don't know if it was loud back then, but it was definitely loud this
I'm going to guess it wasn't loud. If the tickets were being given away at Burger King, and the games
you give away tickets, certain kind of person comes in there, they might just be loud in general. I'm just throwing that out.
Yeah, I'm guessing that's a no, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I mean, they probably had more show up to the Miami Gardens and one of his nationally rated games than they did to some of those games back in the 70s.
You guys should attend one of those. It would be great fun. I know.
I've been. I went last year. Who came in last year, Rod?
To which game you came to?
You guys early in the season. You played someone from either Oregon or California last year.
Oh, California. Oh, we played the Ducks from IU Ducks.
I went there.
California.
Betty T was sold out.
Yeah. That was a good game.
No, it's a serious deal when you go, man. For real.
Yeah, it's absolutely a serious deal when you go. Hey, wait. Actually, let's close with this. Actually, I know I want to get this in. So game day will be in Cal Berkeley, and no disrespect, but I'm guessing right there. Clearly, there wasn't a top 10 matchup for those guys to go to, and Miami's a big enough brand, and it's Cal's, is hosting, and they can kind of check one off the list. But what's it like when game day's coming to your game, Casey? Because you noted this. What's it like? You know it. How do you how is it sort of sensed around the team in the week leading up?
I mean, I don't think I was ever an away team, but obviously they were there for the Notre Dame game in 2017, and I could just tell you, like, I felt like our attention to the game was different. Our want to show out on national TV was different because we were being highlighted not just during the game, but the entire day leading up to it. And I feel like that just definitely gives you a different perspective on the game that's about to be played. Hey, this is a little bit of a bigger deal because we're not just on national TV from 8 to 10 o'clock at night. Like, we're on national TV from 6 in the morning. Everyone's talking about us and how we are going to do versus this team. Obviously, the brand of Miami is bringing up game day to Cal, and congrats to them. It's going to be their first one, but I just feel like it should play in our favor. Now, will it get Cal a little rowdy? Yeah. Get people a little liquor flowing a little early in the morning.
I think they do other stuff out there, Casey. I don't think it's just liquor out
Something
there.
a little stronger than liquor up there in Cal.
They may not even know what they're watching. They're like, what?
Exactly.
Why is there 22 people running around on a field chasing each other? Am I hallucinating?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but the earlier they start, it brings the excitement, brings all the energy
last,
to
dude.
it.
It's Cal Berkeley. They may not last.
They may not.
I may not last.
but
To be quite honest with you, I may not last. This is maybe past my
I
bedtime.
try.
It's testing the limits of my mental stamina.
Let me ask you: are you guys are they going out?
Yeah,
a day early.
Yeah, yes.
They're going out. Yeah, I think they're going out Thursday,
Friday, right?
No, Thursday.
I think maybe Thursday.
Thursday.
Yeah.
Thursday.
That would be advised.
Very much advised.
Get used to.
It's. I mean, it's there. Wow, it may or may not make a difference. I mean, night games are long days in the hotel on the road, anyways. But I guess in my head, that's a longer one, just because it's the 3 hour. It's a longer day.
I don't want to hear any excuses about how you couldn't sleep in.
No, I have plenty of nap time. There's plenty of time to nap. Plenty of nap time.
Right.
Which
Yeah,
I'm
but
good
it's a
with.
10:30 start for us.
Right, I know. It's a long day.
That could pose some problems.
I'm glad they put the bye
I-
week on the back end of this. I will tell you that.
Yeah, that was wise. Whoever did that,
Yeah.
it's solid for us. I remember game day coming to campus my senior year when we were going to play Florida State. And like Casey says, you just realize that this is a different kind of game. Chris Fowler is there. Looked the same, by the way. But
magically,
interviews are being done. And everyone wants to show out. I mean, I know how we were then. We wanted the limelight. That's what we wanted. It was back when you could take your helmet off and no one threw a flag at you. So we were all getting ready for the plays that we wanted to make and take our helmet off. And Vegas did us a solid and made us underdogs in the Orange Bowl. And we're just come off of that 58 game streak ending. So the amount of disrespect combined with the big feel of game day being there really made us turn up on Florida State that night.
just don't spin the ball in the end zone anymore.
Yeah,
Can't do any of that.
I mean, come on.
Stuff.
You know what's funny? I saw Mario's reaction, and I saw how he addressed his receiver. I would not want to be on the receiving end of that. But watching the game, did he just spin the ball in the end zone? Was that it?
Yeah, we've done more.
That's what I'm saying. Like he got a tongue
penalty.
lashing because obviously the penalty and that did not sit well with the head coach. But when I went back and watched what he actually did, I was, man, the penalty didn't fit the crime on that one. He just literally.
I do like how Mario handled it. Before this, he was like, "That's fine, just don't get a penalty."
Right.
And he said nothing. Finally got a penalty.
Oh, he went.
bananas.
He went
berserk
He went
on
bananas.
himself.
He was not happy.
I go back to what he said in the original 30 for 30 when they interviewed him.
What'd he say?
It was Jimmy Johnson said, "There's two things that you do: what I coach you to do and what I allow you to do." Which is, I feel like that's how he's running the team. There's things that we're coaching you to do, but hey, as long as we don't get a penalty, do your thing. I don't care. Just don't get 15 yards.
Yeah.
I'm all for that.
All right, fellas. Good night. Thank you. I will. I'll talk to you from Cali. Maybe I'll send you some pics.
Yeah.
Let you know what I'm up to. Anybody got any
I'll be out there.
recommendations?
Yeah, do that.
I'll be out there. I'll be there.
You coming?
I'm flying out.
Oh,
Yes,
nice.
Let's go hang out if you want.
Yes,
I mean,
yes, definitely.
that sounds a little desperate. If
what-
you don't want to, you can just say no and not answer your phone.
What area were you staying with the team?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Just let me know. I'll be in. My oldest son lives there, so I'm going to hang out.
Oh, you know what?
with him, so that's
Hey,
I'm
Chad,
going
we've talked about building an audience. We can test that out. I'll give out the address of the hotel. We'll see how many listeners we have and who shows up.
Hey, look, I'm just letting you guys know the Bay Area, you will get robbed if you're sleeping. So
Yep.
Pay attention to your cars and your belongings.
No, seriously.
No, your car.
Cars now. Your car. So my son lives there, right? So this is what he doing. He go out. He leaves all his windows down. So they don't even let their windows up. So when he go out, I say, why you do? He say, so they know I have nothing. They don't break my window to break in my car. I just leave the windows down. Like,
Yeah,
so
I was there 2 years ago, and I refused. We went to a restaurant. We went to an Indian restaurant. I said, I refuse to park anywhere where I can't, from inside the restaurant, see the car, which is kind of foolish because they get in and out your car in 6 seconds.
Yeah.
Even if I saw it and got outside, they'd still be gone before. But that's how it is there. Be very careful, Josh,
Very careful.
especially if you've got equipment. I'm dead serious.
Really?
Yes, seriously.
Be very careful. Yes.
We went there. We went there to play. We went there to play the Chargers. No, the Rams. And guys were out to dinner in the Bay Area, and just they were like, "Yeah, jewelry store right next to the restaurant." Everything was gone by the time we left the restaurant. Like,
What?
They
Yeah.
just
It's that
Oh,
bad.
yeah.
It's sad. Now this is not the Bay Area of my high school years. Because by the way, I took a trip to Cal and damn near went there, and it was so much different than it is now. I don't know what's happened, but yeah, please be careful.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's the
So-
best. That's the best. This is the best couple of minutes we've done here for my own personal salvation. I appreciate it.
Yeah.